Hi.
Hello.
And welcome.
We're your hosts.
I'm Alix.
And I'm Kat.
You found the two PFFs you didn't know you needed, but you're glad you have.
Congratulations. You have found your people.
Enjoy the ride as we navigate what it's like to
live out loud.
Hi. Hey. How's it going? It's good. It is still so hot. I'm ready for fall. I'm surrounded by all of the... What?
No, it's so hot.
Oh.
It's so hot. I can't take it anymore.
It is, and I'm like surrounded by all the fall decor, and I'm so excited for fall. It's my favorite season, and then it's like 90 degrees.
Right, yeah.
It's not okay.
It's starting to feel at least a little bit better, like in the mornings.
Right.
True. So 60 degrees-ish.
60.
But you
We're
have
excited about 60.
We're excited about 60, but like also 60 degrees plus 90% humidity. So we're looking at like 80. And that's at 6 a.m.
Right.
So I'm definitely ready for
a 50-ish morning and a 75-ish afternoon.
100%.
We only get like one of those in Georgia. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
man, we look forward to that one day.
Well, I feel like coming from Oklahoma, it feels like more than one day. Oklahoma, it's like a half day, and the second half is snow.
I respect that.
Yeah.
So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving in and talking about how to get over a breakup. Which, this is a listener request because I haven't been through a breakup in quite a while, and you haven't either.
It's been, more recent than yours.
Okay, just say you're old.
I'm
fine.
You're old.
That's what you're saying.
No, it just means
that I have been married for almost 20 years, so yes, you're right.
Right, and I've been married for 3.5.
Uh-huh.
We've been together for 6, so it's been about 6 years.
Yeah.
So in the recent millennia, right? Millennium?
Yes. Okay. And mine's been over 2 decades ago, so there you go.
Hey, 2 different perspectives from 2 different times in
life. There you go. But this is a thing, right? It's like, that song, like, you probably don't even know this song. I hope you do. I hope you're cultured. Breaking up is hard to do.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, it is hard to do, right? And especially if you're the one being broken up with. Like, how do you get through a breakup when someone is breaking up with you? Because you can hear the line all day that it's not you, it's me.
Right.
But it's usually you.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So we had a listener ask if we did an episode on how to get over a breakup. And we're like, sure, yeah, we can do that. And so I actually looked up some tips that the internet and, experts give on how to get over a breakup. Because did you know there's healthier ways to get over a breakup than to eat a bunch of ice cream and, not shave your legs and just sit on the couch and watch television?
I didn't.
That's what we did back in the day when we had a breakup.
That's what we did back in my day too. So, there is so many different ways to get over one. I think before we dive into that, do we want to discuss like a little bit of like what breakups have meant to us?
Sure.
Okay. What has a breakup meant to you? What has that been like?
So, I married my high school sweetheart.
Right.
So I have very limited dating files, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a few. And breaking up for me, I was always the one doing the breaking up. I wasn't the one broken up with.
Interesting.
I'm just awesome.
But
no. So I had one serious boyfriend before my husband, and we were kind of on off again, right? Like, we dated a while, then we would break up, then we would date a while, then break up. And it just, for me, I guess it was just a matter of, like, I knew what I was looking for,
mm-hmm.
and he wasn't it.
That's fair.
And I felt bad because he wasn't a bad guy. It wasn't like a bad situation. He was very nice and he really loved me.
Right.
But I did not love him.
Mm.
And it was just kind of like, this isn't for me. You're for someone else. But of course, when you're 16, you don't know how to say that.
Yeah. I don't know how you could say that at that age.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like you made it about like, you do this thing, it's on my nerves, this is on my nerves, I really just want to be in this relationship anymore. But, you know, hindsight being 2020, like, you look back on it and you're like, what was really going on was he was this, and this is where, at the time, it looked like he was headed with his life.
Right.
And that didn't match up to what I wanted my life to look like, and I didn't love him. Even though he adored me, and that was wonderful, and he was nice to me and so sweet. But I didn't, I didn't feel the same.
So for you, like, dating in high school was, like, you were thinking about, oh, could I marry this person?
I don't know that I was thinking about, could I marry this person? But again, we're coming off the heels of purity culture, right? So we didn't date to just date, right? It was like, where's this relationship going to go? And I grew up very much with, you don't date anyone you wouldn't want to marry, because you're giving your heart to that person, you're spending your time with this person, you're investing in this person, and what if you end up being tied to this person for life? What if you do, sleep with him, and, then you have a baby, if you have a baby with him, whatever, right? That happens all the time. And so I was of the mindset at 16 that I was like, I don't want to be tied and committed to someone, even for a short period of time, where I know that, like, his life's going to go one way and my life is going to go another. Like, not even knowing exactly what that meant. I wasn't thinking about marriage per se, but I was thinking, you're not the guy for me.
Right.
Right. This isn't going, I don't want this to go anywhere.
Right.
So,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I didn't date in high school. I had one boyfriend, serious-ish. I don't even think we made it to a year. That relationship was a joke. Literally was made to be a joke on me, to break in the heat of purity culture, to see if they could break the Christian girl at school.
Oh.
Really messed up.
Yeah.
Got broken up with at semi-formal. So, like, yeah, it was really sad. I think it was semi-formal. It was some sort of dance. Anyway, it was a mess.
That just adds insult to injury.
Yeah, well, and also my parents thought I was having sex with him. So, like, I was headed to that dance after getting in a fight with my parents about the relationship. Then I got broken up with, called my parents, and it was like oh my gosh, we're so sorry. It was really, really sad. But it was weird for me. Like, dating just wasn't really my thing. I don't think it was because of who I am as a person, because I think if I were to go back in time to the person that I am now, I would be a dating person. I think a lot of it had to do with, like, religious trauma and, like, purity culture. And in the same vein, like, it wasn't dating to just date. Like, I didn't see the point in that.
Right.
I didn't get into another serious relationship with anyone until my junior year of college. And that was like a 3-year-long friendship relationship, weird thing, wasn't defined until later, and it was like a forceful definition, and it ended pretty catastrophically as well. That one I was broken up with, so both of mine I was heartbroken. I wasn't the one doing the heartbreaking, and a lot of it called into question, both of them, who I was as a person, and a lot of the traumas of both relationships, just being the wrong person. They're both great people.
Right.
I wish them the best. In the moment, I thought they were Satan on earth, but, like, I was also in the middle of getting my heart broken, and I think that's where a lot of how do you process a breakup comes into play, of, like, people don't just let themselves be upset. Like, it's like, gotta pick myself up.
Gotta get up out of that feeling,
right? And I was stuck in that realm for a long time with my latest relationship, before I met my husband. My husband obviously was the next one. But that one was hard, because I ended up living with my ex, not in the same house, but we were resident advisors in the same dorm room or the same dorm building. So like I had to work with him every single day after the breakup and through the summer, and it was hard. And it was like I wanted to still be friends but didn't know what to do, and how I managed that was really difficult.
Yeah, for sure. It's just hard.
It's hard. It is hard.
Whether we need to let it be hard.
Right. I don't think I let myself process the way that I wanted to. I slipped back into a lot of old habits that weren't great for me. I slipped into just like sloth mode in a negative way. Like I just let it be okay for like too long, if that makes sense. And I think that's where like not having the right coping mechanisms, because it was my first real, like, I felt like I loved this guy.
Right.
My first real love cut, where like my high school boyfriend, it wasn't really that way.
Just the way he did it was terrible.
Yeah, just the way it went about was awful. This one was like, wow, I could have seen, that one it felt like we were on the same path. We could have, you know, there were some things that were a little bit different, but we were working it through and all of that, and it felt like it could have been forever. And so for that to just end right then and there was challenging. And I think for me, like coping, the things I did were, I did a lot of internal like introspection. I'm really bad at replaying every conversation over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And seeing what I could have said better, what they could have said better, anything like that. I had to let that side go. So my reflection was more on, okay, am I proud of who I was during that time? And I couldn't say yes in every instance. And that was hard, and I had to work through that. I lost a ton of friendships also through that breakup, which I think people don't talk about. The friendships that are attached to those relationships. Like my friend group was that relationship, and we all hung out together. So, and I unfortunately wasn't the chosen one.
Right.
So I ended up not having the friend. So that sent me into another realm of who am I? What am I? Do people not like me? That sort of thing.
Right.
But there's a level of confidence that comes from that. And I realized I wasn't standing up for myself, and there were a lot of growth moments of like, oh wow, like I wasn't proud of myself during that time because I wasn't willing to be honest and be like, actually no, that does bother me, or actually no, like this is what I want to do, and like I'm not gonna, if we go into the Enneagram 2 side of it, I was really unhealthy. Like I was just letting them walk right all over me, and I put aside my needs and my desires to try and make the relationship work.
Right. So you know how super productive people have a tendency to where they don't want to rest because they think that rest is not productive, so they have a hard time resting. And I kind of think about it the same way, like for a breakup, is that you know that when you eventually do take the time to rest, that you actually become more productive.
Right.
Rest is a piece of that productivity that is necessary and needed. And if you don't get that, it's going to end up hurting you long term, right? There's an episode of Gilmore Girls, one of my favorite shows, where Rory gets broken up with.
Right.
And she's like, kicks into like hyper vigilance mode, right? She's going to go get all these things done. She's going to go check off all these boxes, run all these errands. Like she doesn't need to think about it. She doesn't need to process it. She just needs to like get things done and check off her to-do list. And then these series of events happen throughout this day, and her mom keeps trying to get her to just come and get in your pajamas and eat ice cream and watch television, and we'll just hang out together. We'll just wallow. And she keeps like, no, resist. And then finally, at the end of the day, like her mom gets home and she's sitting there with ice cream. She's like, I'm ready to wallow now. And she cries and gets ice cream. And that is how I feel like that's the number one thing for getting through a breakup, is that it is painful.
Yeah.
It is just because you don't have bruises on your body from where you've been through something traumatic, we think, well, it was just this, or it was just that, or it was just an emotional thing that happened. That old stupid thing we used to say as kids, sticks and stones may break my bones, so words will never hurt me. Well, that's a load of crap.
Right.
I mean, it is, right?
It is.
And so words hurt way worse. I mean, I'd rather you punch me in the arm than say some of the things that, like, have been said to me over the years, right? Because words are painful. And they replay over and over and over again. A bruise on my arm will heal, but words in my brain, I mean, gosh, right?
They'll play forever.
So when we go through something hard like a breakup, I think the very first thing that we should do, the very first thing is pause. And I read about that in a lot of the research I was doing. It's like we have to take the time to process the emotion. But before we can even start to process, we just have to feel it. Right? You just, whether you want to be alone or whether you want to be with your girlfriends or guy friends or family or whatever, whoever those people are for you, or if you're the alone type, whatever, you just sit and you're just in it for a while and you're just sad or angry or whatever the emotion is. There's no good or bad way, no wrong or right on feeling the feeling.
Right.
You just feel it. You just let yourself feel it all. Grieve. However long that takes.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't start thinking back on what you could have done differently or how you can grow or any of those things until you grieve what you've lost, until you get over the shock of what you've been through.
Right. 100%. It takes a long time, and we do need to give ourselves that time and space to just be.
Yes. And so what are the other things we can do after that, right? So after we take time, right, to process, we can get advice and talk it through with friends and loved ones.
Or a therapist.
Or a therapist. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful who you share intimate details of your life with, right? So if you have a best friend that you can trust to do that with, then do that. If you have family that you can trust to do that with, then do that. I can't quit yawning today, y'all. I'm so sorry. But one of the things that I would like to caution everybody is that, I wouldn't involve your family too much in your breakup situations unless you know for 100% sure that you're never, ever, as Taylor says, getting back together. Okay? And why is that? Well, because they're usually going to take your side if your family's worth the dang. Okay? So
Also very true.
Right. So whatever, you may forgive and forget if you get back together. Your family might not.
That is the truth.
And that'll cause further problems. So therapists are awesome. You pay them to keep your secrets, and to talk through things with you. So that is always an option. What do you not want to do? You don't want to turn to alcohol, drugs, other types of addictions. If you are a recovering alcoholic, a recovering drug user, a recovering binge eater.
Yeah.
Whatever those things are, whatever you struggle with when you are in deep emotion, if you struggle with that, that is the time. A time in a breakup is the time to go to an extra meeting, call your sponsor, make sure you're not alone. Right? If you struggle with mental health and you go through a big breakup that really affects you, go be with people. You don't have to tell them what's going on. The point is to protect yourself and protect your mental health, and that you don't make a permanent decision off of a temporary situation.
Yes, without a doubt. I've seen it time and time and time again where a rash decision is almost worse than the breakup itself.
Exactly.
Because you're left with the breakup, the person's gone, you've got the emotional, maybe physical, just toll that takes. Making a rash decision, buying a pet, doing something. I mean, that's a little bit strange, but doing something dramatic like that, where in 2 weeks, if you would have just taken a little bit of time,
you're gonna regret that decision.
Exactly.
Don't get the breakup haircut. You've been growing out your out your hair for 5 years, and then you go through a breakup and you get a pixie cut, and you've never looked good in a pixie cut, and then what you have is a bad breakup and a bad haircut.
Yep.
And that's never helped anybody.
Nope.
So, just to recap this, like, take time for yourself.
Yeah.
Take time to sit in your emotion. Don't judge your emotions. We are so quick to do that. We're so quick to say you shouldn't be this way. You should feel this, right? No, you feel whatever you feel, right? You give yourself permission to do that. You look after yourself. So make sure you're doing basic self-care, right?
Brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth. Shower. Put on clean clothes. Eat something.
Right.
Hydrate. Basic self-care. These things sound simple, but if you've ever been through a really, really tough breakup, especially if you go through a divorce, that's a whole nother level.
That's a whole nother level, yeah.
Right? You have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah. Oftentimes after a breakup, we don't want to deal with what's going on, so we go into hyper helper mode. Where, how can I do this? Where, you go, you serve somewhere, you try and distract yourself from actually doing what you need to do to take care of yourself and do the things that will ultimately heal you. Maybe not quicker, but quicker.
Right.
And I definitely didn't do that. I let the fact that my ex was in my same space, I didn't set enough boundaries there, first and foremost, to allow myself the time to get there. And, like, in simple things. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I could totally, like, eat dinner in the cafe with you and others. I wasn't ready for that. And it made the process of healing so much longer than it needed to. And it was stuff I had to deal with, like, even after I got engaged, just because I didn't let myself work through it, because I didn't have the people, I didn't talk to the right people, I didn't find the right people to work through those things. If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. And that brings up another great point, is that there's not a set time frame of how long it'll take to get over a breakup.
Amen.
Experts estimate that it takes an average of about 3 months. Okay? If your relationship was, a shorter relationship, might be a little bit shorter. If it was a very long-term relationship, it might take a little longer. If you were married to the person, it might take longer. All these circumstances can go into that. And so you're not on a timeline of healing.
Right.
Right? So top 5, tips that we can leave as far as getting over a breakup. Sit in the emotion. Wallow, as Lorelai Gilmore says. Wallow. Okay? 2, take care of yourself.
Yes.
Take as much time as you need. Process. And stay off of social media.
Yes.
Sam Hunt has a song, Breaking Up Was Easy in the 90s. And I love it because it truly was.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Facebook and TikTok to be able to see the glorious life that your ex is pretending to lead.
Right.
While you're suffering at home because of the heartbreak.
Right.
Right? And he's like, I bet breaking up was easy in the 90s. Well, yeah, it was probably a lot easier than it is now, right?
Oh, I believe it. And also, you don't have to check in with your ex when you find someone else.
Nope.
They don't care. You're not doing them a solid, so that way if they see you in public with somebody else, no. Either if you were the one to do the breakupping or vice versa, they broke up with you, in no circumstance.
Well,
in my opinion,
there's one circumstance. It's if you share children.
Yes. If you share children.
You should give a heads up about a serious relationship.
Correct.
Other than that,
no. I had been broken up with, okay, to be fair, my husband was what the world would consider a rebound. We started dating about 4 months after my serious relationship ended. And I considered him, and he knows this, a rebound. I was like, it's a fling.
Just so great.
He's a lot younger than I am. He's like 3.5 years younger than I am. I was like, it's fine. Like, this is just gonna be a one-time thing, negative. And my brain, I was like, okay, so if our listeners are putting this together, if I met my husband 4 months after my ex, and my ex and I live in the same building, ta-da-ta-da, my husband also lived in that building. So, sitcom of the century, writers write that up. I thought it...
Oh, Hollywood. Yes, good for you.
I thought it was my due diligence to let my ex know that I was dating my now husband.
No.
I ended up not sharing it. It was a whole thing. They actually didn't feel like they had to know. Whatever. You don't have to share. And when we got engaged, because of everything that happened when we started dating, I was like, oh crap, I feel like I should probably let them know. No, malarkey. Like, no. And please don't. Don't ever do it. And your brain is not in the right headspace yet to have those conversations.
No.
You can talk about being friends with exes and all of that, and that's a whole nother conversation for another time, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But in no circumstance. And if you're going through all of it, you're good enough. Mm-hmm. Like, you are good enough. I think we always end the episode that way, and we will. But I feel like it's so important to share now that regardless of you doing the breakup or you being broken up with,
you're good enough.
You're good enough.
Well, and that's especially hard if the person you've been in a relationship with is a good person.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, because most people that break up with each other, one person isn't this terrible person and the other person was, golden.
Right.
Two people have a relationship, right? And usually there's good in almost everybody, right? So, like, usually two people are just in a relationship, it's just not working. Right?
Right.
And so it's especially can be hard if you view the other person as this great, amazing person and that you're the reason the breakup happened. It can be really hard to give yourself grace and realize that, no, you're good enough. You're worthy. All these things. It's just relationships don't work out.
Right.
It doesn't have to be their fault or your fault. And if you need to blame them, you can definitely do that while you're going through the stages of grief. But it doesn't have to be someone's fault. And I think the older that we get and the more relationships we have and the more that we mature, we realize that it does not have to be someone's fault. Things just don't work out sometimes.
Right. And that's the unfortunate truth.
Right. And once you get past your anger, which is one of the stages of grief, once you get past, your anger, then you really can say, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's right. It's really not their fault. It really wasn't my fault. We weren't good together. Right. We just didn't, it just wasn't the best. But just always remind yourself, if you're going through a breakup especially, and it's hard and you're in the thick of it, you are not too much.
Not too much.
You're not too little.
Not too little.
You're just enough.
Just enough.